You know, when we talk about the Montreal Canadiens and their pursuit of a second line center, I think we do overlook some positive signs and potentially that they might be able to fix this issue in-house. We're going to be talking about some interesting insider comments and some relatively concerning signs on the back end of the video. Not anything too major, but some stuff I wanted to dive in on, guys. But welcome back to Pixel Plus Hockey. If you could make sure to hit that subscribe button, it would be so greatly appreciated. And thank you so much to those that are already supporting me as well. You know, it is kind of weird because on paper, it almost looks like the Montreal Canadiens have everything that they want. They got like a pretty good goalie. I think their blue line looks good. You got Lane Hudson and Dobson. Like, I think that's a nasty, nasty setup on your blue line. You know, you have a lot of good wingers. They have a #1 center. You know, they're pretty well coached. They're well managed. You know, they're actually going in a really proper direction, like a really well-run franchise. But the second line center, it just kind of stands out to you a little bit of like a question mark of who's going to be there as we approach next year. For one, they do have Owen Beck, who has played in the American Hockey League. I'm not sure if he can play consistently at the National Hockey League level, but he's still like a really good prospect. He has some ability to play center, so you obviously have to give him a look as well. And one thing that I've been doing quite a bit is keeping a very close eye on the World Junior Summer Showcase, because there's a couple of interesting players, and one interesting player that we have a really, really cool quote from one insider about. So here we go. Michael Hage for the Montreal Canadiens. Hage scored the opening goal, getting himself in the slot to receive a pass while going undetected. That wasn't what impressed me most, though. It was his constant movement out there, taking space away and setting up his line mates. Hage is a perfect #2 center because he plays a reliable two-way game without sacrificing offensive chances. I also love his pass for the 2-0 Canada Red goal, too. And you know what stood out to me about this more than anything is the quote that it says, Hage is a perfect #2 center. And I don't know if this guy knows what he's doing here, but that's kind of what I'm looking at as well. Yes, I know that this player hasn't played in the American Hockey League. And yes, I know if you follow this channel for a little while, it's generally something that I like to look at. I really like when certain players come in at younger ages in the American Hockey League, and you can look at that player and say, okay, he's performing at that, so I get a better idea of what he can do in the National Hockey League. That's why I have a better idea of what Owen Beck is. But man, Michael Hage is just such an interesting player for the Montreal Canadiens. And I think, maybe not next year, but maybe so, he could actually fight for that #2 center position as well. So let's break this down. Let's say the Montreal Canadiens have a chance to trade for a center that's going to slot into the #2 slot, whatever it might be. Marco Rossi, McTavish, you know, maybe they could get Pavel Zacha, whoever that they could get. Would you rather the Habs do that? Number two, would you rather that they're patient and they look at Michael Hage and say, we're going to try to develop this guy into that position? You never know when a player might be ready. You know, playing center in the National Hockey League is not easy, but again, he already seems to have a relatively good two-way game, so you never know. Now, shifting gears here, as the Montreal Canadiens head into next season, let's say Michael Hage isn't ready next year. Let's say he needs more time to develop, which is probable. They're probably going to need to rely on Kirby Dach to a degree, right? Now, as you follow this channel, I'm not necessarily the hugest Kirby Dach guy. I don't think he's completely terrible, but I'm not like the biggest fan of his. But I understand that he has an ability, to some degree, to play center. He's injury prone, but I mean, you gotta get this guy going, and you really gotta hope that he's at least decent and comparably decent to, next year for the Montreal Canadiens. And I was reading Hab Fanatic, and honestly, they were bringing up some really, really, really good points. We have an interesting quote here. Pretty much all of the Canadiens players, the ones who are already on the team before the summer of 2025, were at Nick Suzuki's wedding last weekend. And you need more than two hands to count how many players have skated in Brassard over the last few weeks. But there's one name we haven't seen much of lately, Kirby Dach. Yes, that is what I have noticed as well. We have not seen Kirby Dach really skating around at all. And again, we do know that he has some injury issues. And I'm sitting here being like, okay, where exactly is this guy and is everything okay? We know he has knee issues. I'm really hope that he's okay for the Montreal Canadiens because he needs to be, I'm not saying a superstar next year, but he needs to be decent for them. He needs to be okay. And we're here we have Alex on X, well followed Habs Twitter account, X, whatever. Anybody heard anything from Kirby Dach? He wasn't at Nick's wedding, apparently. I don't want to jump the gun either, but we've heard very little about his rehabilitation. So, I am going to be keeping a very close eye on this for the next couple of weeks heading into we're getting closer and closer to training camp. It's going to be August soon, and I'm telling you, the hockey off season is not very long. Back in 22-23 for the Montreal Canadiens, Kirby Dach was like pretty good. He had like 38 points in like 50, I think 8 games, something like that. He was good for them, and if he could ever get back to that, man, he could actually be like, I'm not going to say like a star level impact player, but he could be an impact player in the way that like they need a center, and he could be that guy. It's just when injuries start to pile up, I start to get a little bit worried, right? Because again, his knees, he just had knee issues, and that just starts to worry me, especially with centers and skating. And you're just like, I'm just really hoping that his rehabilitation, honestly, not even just only for hockey, but just his life in general. Obviously injury issues can just catch up on players in general. Anyways, guys, I am going to leave this video here. If you can make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it, guys. And make sure to have a great day. Goodbye, guys.